That's I think that's how like Joe Rogan does it. I think it's like flick it on and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Pete, my business partner, he just found that out because he's like researching, like, okay, how do we do all this shit to like dig in for what works. I guess he always goes to dinner with whoever's going to be the guest. They come back and then they record. So it's just like the conversation is already picked up. They're already warmed up.
He doesn't ever feel like he's missed like some of that pre-talk. Like you miss out on having like you hit some good stuff probably in that. But he doesn't ever feel like he misses out. Like, shit, we should have been recording this.
That's a good one. Yeah. It'd almost be like the podcast.
Yeah.
Like set up a camera, having dinner. Like, we'll just see what comes out.
Yeah.
Just chop it up.
Who the fuck are you anyways?
Yeah. Right. Oh, man. Pretty good shit.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I'll do a quick, and what was your name of your business, Curtis Jackson?
Jackson Strength.
Just Jackson Strength? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say that I'll just intro that you've been a professional beach volleyball player. By the way, you probably came across Gabby Reese at some point, huh?
Yeah. My wife knows Gabby a little, like better than I do. And we've done some stuff with Laird and Gabby. They used to do these, or they still do things called XPT, which is kind of these fitness gatherings of sorts. And I believe we had already lived here, so this was like 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. And they did one down in Malibu. We just happened to be in California at the same time. Went down there and got to chat with Laird a bunch. And Crystal's actually interviewed, my wife has interviewed Gabby a couple times, I think even, maybe twice. So yeah, good people, awesome people. Yeah. And she's a stud, Laird's a stud, just people you like to stay close to, as far as like, they just kind of have the same goals of like, we're just not ready to give up on this life, and keep squeezing every little last drop out of it type folk, which is nice to be around when you're pushing 50 like I am. You want to limit the...
okay, there's some years, yeah.
You want to limit the amount of people that are, man, we're just getting old. Like that fucking bothers me. I have a friend, he always says that, like text, because we'll talk about bands or something. It's like, oh my God, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are like 60. You're like, fuck, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, man, we're getting old. I'm like, fuck you, you're getting old. I'm not getting old. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to admit it. I'm trying to keep a young mindset and keep going. So feel free to accept that you're getting old, but I'm not with you, man.
It seems like, time passing, whatever. It's like if you approach it in a decent way, shit only gets more fun.
You have to have the right mindset. It's the perspective, dude. It really is. For some reason, our brains want to take us down these shitty rabbit holes all the time of like, you're getting old, you're getting tired, like whatever it is. And it's like, you just have to be vigilant about the self-talk you've got going on, the things you say to yourself, the things you say out loud to other people. Like, you just have to it's a full-time job to wrangle in your subconscious and things that, the stories running the show behind the show. So,
if you're not opposed to it, we'll just start it as we started talking about that there. And we can edit anything out, and we'll always, before it goes live, I'll send it over to you. That way you can check it out first, just to, if you got any.
Yeah, no, that's good shit. That's stuff that people, especially, I mean, you're younger than me. How old are you?
42.
42, so you're behind me a few years. I'm 48, but, it's so, I mean, how many people have said, oh, once you hit 40, I just want to like backhand them. You know? Right. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why say that shit?
It's like that shit's in your head.
Why say that shit to anybody? Like, that's not positive. It really isn't. And they're not trying to be mean. It's like, whatever. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me, personally. I want to be like, hey, fuck off. Like, don't say that shit to me. Like, just don't, please. Don't say that stuff to me. So I tend to stick around, and that's why I kind of, I think me and you, we like hit it off as quick as we did, because we're both on the same mindset of like, hey man, we're going scorched earth to try to find all the things that are keeping us moving and going and young and vital. Like, I'm not buying into your, well, that's what happened after 40, or, oh, you're getting up to 50. It's just like, so you have to have like a shield. You got to have a shield for people that say these kind of things, and just like deflect it and not let it in. Just not let it in. You know, we have a saying at our house: cancel, cancel. My wife and I learned this in like a birthing class, like whatever, a long time ago, 15 years ago or something. My son's 13 now, so probably like 14 years ago. And it was just something she mentioned in this class, like, you're gonna have a lot of negative thoughts. It's okay, everyone has negative thoughts, but just cancel. Right after they come in, you know, like, this was all more about birth stuff. So it was like, you know, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. I mean, think about all the negative shit people say about giving birth. Like, you know, you got to really be vigilant about those stories not getting into your head when you're a female that's pregnant. So she's like, yeah, anytime someone says that, you just say cancel. So that's kind of been a mantra, you know, in our household, like, you know, cancel whenever something. So we just cancel that shit out. You know? So.
You know, it seems funny, you know, speaking about us meeting or whatever, met at the gym.
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know, I guess here in Montana, where there's not, you know, a ton of people going to the same place, you just see the same people, you know, routinely. And yeah, who knows? You just kind of, seems like it's not by accident, you know, that you meet the people that you do.
Well, you before we were recording, you talked about, like, it just kind of seems to work out that the right people show up at your cold plunge events. And so being in the gym or anywhere, you can sense after a while the people that are your kind of crazy, you know? And so, like, at some point, I had seen you enough. I think I just went over and introduced myself. Like, you make eye contact with people, you smile at people, you are physically fit, you know, and you just seem to have a good vibe and energy about you. But there's people in there that could give two shits about making eye contact or acknowledging other people or saying hello, or they're in their own world and they're on their phone, or you want to piss me off again, they're taking a phone call on a machine, you know, like all kinds of shitty gym etiquette. And like, you know, I'd seen you enough times, like, this guy's just, you know, I'm like, I'm going to see you all the time here. I might as well know your name. And, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, the sauna, you know, my wife always cracks up when I tell her about, you know, oh yeah, you know, in the sauna today. She's like, man, the sauna's like, it's like old school, like Russian mob, like where they, you know, like the steam rooms or whatever, the bathhouses where they do all the business, all kinds of conversations happen in that sauna. And me and you got to have a really cool one day, you know, talking about football and hockey, and I know jack shit about hockey, so I was picking your brain, and so that was, but yeah, the sauna seems to be either like a bonding area or where you really learn about the people you don't want to spend too much time around. It's kind of funny.
It's funny you mentioned that, in the sort of contrast that you can get from people. There's one guy who fucking has to talk every single time he gets into there.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, if I see him coming, like, I just shut my eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like, a lot of people just, they want to veg out, or they want to have maybe a two-way conversation,
right,
instead of being like, I'm going on a bit of a rant there, instead of being like railroaded with everything that you're gonna unleash on them. And it's funny too, when those people step out sometimes, like, you kind of meet eyes with somebody and it's like that whole thing that I just said, you kind of look at somebody sometimes and they're like, like, okay, cool, that's over with. You know, can go back to just enjoying their time in there.
And like, kind of on that note, a cool time to go, this is probably like worldwide, is like super early. The people that are in there at like 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, or like 6 that have already worked out and they're in there, are like, and I don't know if they still go in there, but like, they all knew each other. I was doing that for a while. And they all like knew each other, and they had like, and it was like a good group of like-minded guys like us that are getting up early and trying to stay healthy. And like, it was a cool, like, positive conversation of like, just everybody kind of picking each other up. And it was so, but I think you're absolutely right that sometimes you can be in there and it's a little bit like, this is toxic-ish.
Right.
And then you got to put your defenses up again. And then that's why I have my headphones nearby, because, you know, it could be like super rad conversations in there, and you meet really cool people, and you're learning stuff and you're sharing ideas and it's back and forth, not just one person talking over everybody else. But sometimes, man, it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to go in my own world now.
It seems like, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's kind of like you need your backup there, like your get out of jail free card. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to veg out and throw these on now. But it's like it's a captive audience in there. It's like you can't just be anywhere in the gym and get the sauna experience. So it's almost like, hey, kind of calibrate to the zone here, like kind of get a feel for everybody. And
I typically go in with my headphones, and then if it seems like a cool vibe, I'll peel one ear off, see what the conversation's like, and then if it's it sounds like it, because I don't mind being social. Like I mentioned to you before, like I don't really enjoy topical bullshit conversations. That's something I've never really enjoyed. I avoid like the plague. Probably why I started training youth athletes, and I love kids. I would much rather hang out with kids, than adults. And my gym back in California was all, 12 to 18-year-old kids that are all there working out. I just love being around them. The energy, the fact that they're doing something so positive with their life at such a young age, it's just really cool. But I don't enjoy the basic chit chat of that adults tend to do. And being like a dad of kids that play baseball, you're kind of forced into a lot of those conversations. But I've just learned to ask better questions instead of being like, oh shit, I gotta go sit and talk about the weather again. I've just learned to ask better questions from people, which makes all the difference in the world when you can get people talking about stuff that's meaningful to them. And you start to kind of peel back, like you get to know people. Which is a lot more fun than just leaving a conversation and being like, well, I know what he does for work and I'm pretty sure I have the weather forecast for the next 2 weeks. But other than that, right? Just, that doesn't seem like an efficient use or just like a good use of time, But that's just me.
Pretty funny, man. And what's funny is only just today, like I said, did I know that you're ever a professional athlete and stuff like that. See, it's like this is one of the great things about so many people who have achieved things in their lives. Just like I mentioned just before we started recording, is it's like they don't usually go sharing that stuff because a lot of people who haven't connected with themselves in a way of like, look, I need to I need to potentially embarrass myself and be very humble if I'm actually want to get really good at something. It seems like people want to protect themselves or whatever. So it's like you start bringing being a professional athlete up or being a strength coach up, whatever. It's like other people are going to be like, oh shit, so I don't know how many people you can actually genuinely talk to about that. But it seems like these conversations, it's almost like you got to feel the other people out and like, okay, can we talk about like some intense shit here and like really get into it?
Yeah. Which is kind of like, and that's one thing I love about, so I also, volleyball in Montana where we live, I was a professional beach volleyball player, and so, I played at a national championship, in college, lost to BYU, got our asses kicked, speaking of being very honest and humble, got our asses kicked by BYU in the finals. I get to work with kids. Me and my wife don't have a club per se up here, but we run camps and I get to work with kids one-on-one a lot. And I have this conversation with them all the time. And it's like, hey, I need you to come in here. Your parents are paying very good money for you to be with me for an hour and a half. I need you to come in here every single time and be willing to suck. That's it. I need you to be willing to suck. I need you to get very good at being okay sucking. Because if you're okay sucking, then you're going to try the things I'm asking you to do. And a lot of things I'm going to ask you to do are not comfortable. They're not the way you've always done things, and you're going to feel awkward. You're going to hit a ball against the wall. You're going to hit a ball underneath the net. You're going to do all kinds of crazy stuff in here that makes you feel like an idiot at first, but that's how you get better. So when you have your tournament this weekend, just go out there and play and do your best. But in here, you got to be willing to suck and try everything I'm telling you And that's how you're going to get to like, because I don't care how good you are today. I care how good you are in 6 years, you know, and the stuff I'm telling you is going to make you great in 6 years, but it might make you worse today. So like, you have to like be okay with that. And I think in general, if people can just kind of go to that space in their head of like being willing to suck, being willing to look stupid, being willing to feel stupid, then they have a really great chance of becoming a great person, great athlete, whatever it is. So it's key.
Yeah, it seems like the mastery there of themselves and their skill in their sport or whatever their trade is earned through, you know, humility. So they genuinely learn something about themselves, you know, in those processes, and the trust, you know, for you is there as well. So obviously you've taken that time, you know, call it your credibility and whatnot, but you probably show them a tremendous level of value to where it's like, okay, this guy has obviously been okay with sucking for a prolonged period of time, and that's how he achieved the things that he did. So that seems like a critical point.
Yeah, and it absolutely is. And you're probably familiar with the old Henry Ford quote: "If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room."
Uh-huh.
Well, I tell these athletes, well, I have to educate them on who Henry Ford is most of the time, and I have to, you know, tell them about the quote. And I said, if you're the best, let's take volleyball. If you're the best volleyball player in the gym, you're in the wrong gym. You've got to go find people that are better than you. And when you find people that are better than you, and you're willing to go find them, you often will maybe look like someone that sucks. You're not the best person there. Stop trying to be the best person there. Keep trying to be the worst person there, because you're not going to learn jack shit from being the best person there. You're going to learn the most from being the worst person there. So with like volleyball, for example, in California, they have age groups for these kids. So you can go play a beach volleyball tournament at 12 and under, just like pretty much any sport. You show up. But they also have adult beach volleyball tournaments where it's like novice, and they have rankings. So it doesn't matter your age as an adult, you just have a ranking: novice, B, A, double A, triple A, and then you pretty much are professional. So like these girls that would come into the gym, I'd be like, stop going to these tournaments and playing against other 12-year-olds that aren't gonna teach you jack shit. They're still trying to figure out everything. Go play against these adults that are like cagey, they have good ball control, they're not jumping out of the gym, or jumping off the sand very well. They have to be smart, you know, and watch how they carry themselves. Like, you're gonna learn so much more by going and playing these low-level adults than you ever will playing against other 12-year-olds that are trying to figure out so much in life, you know? So that was a good way for, in that instance, my basketball players that I train, to go get in adult men's leagues. You know, go play against strong, physical dudes that are never gonna let you beat them. It's like a point of pride. They're not gonna go home that night and wanna tell their wife they got their ass kicked by a 15 or 16-year-old kid from the local high school. They're not gonna take it easy on you, dude, you know? So go get uncomfortable. You've seen them at where we work out, the Wave. Like, you see those kids in there. They're horsing around half the time, anyways. But go play against some dudes that are like going to take a point of pride and not letting you score on them. That's where you start to like grow, you know, when you can get around people that really just push you way, way, way out of your comfort zone.
Seems funny how that comfort zone thing, it's like a common theme, you know, Joe Rogan, you know, and everybody, you know, in that sphere of doing hard things is always like, you better choose your right challenges, because the challenges are going to come from elsewhere and you don't get to choose them. So what do you, I guess it seems too like when you're able to work with kids and they're able to have these lessons earlier in life, like how do you find that impacts them over time, just even in the way that they carry themselves?
Yeah, you know, you know, I have a beautiful opportunity now to be able to reflect. Some of my athletes that came in when they were like 12, 13, 14 years old are like 29, 30 now. And so you do get a window into how those years of coming into our gym, working hard, doing hard things that suck in the moment, but benefit you over time, how beneficial those are. And certainly I grew closer to some of those athletes, and I talk to some of those athletes more than others, but man, the ones that I still keep up with, they're none of them are overweight that I can see, The ones that were really there, I grew closest to the ones that worked the hardest. Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, that's just how it was. Like, I admired those kids because I was such a fuck up at their age. Like, I had sports and I was good at sports, and that kept me on somewhat of a straight and narrow, but as hard as I went at sports, I went just that hard at partying and doing dumb shit. And so here, these kids are, and I never went to like some training facility. There weren't training facilities and stuff like that back in those days, but I never like sought out extra training. I had shitty grades. And here we have these kids that are like 13, 14, 15, all the way to 18. They're coming into my gym 2 to 3, 4 times a week. They've got great grades. They're just like kind people. They work super hard. It's just like, I just admired them. So when we talk about like finding your people, like there's 14-year-old kids out there that are your people, right? And you might not ever think of it that way, but there's like 14-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids that you can admire and look up to. It seems like a weird concept. For me and you, it's probably more natural to see that like 60-year-old Jack dude in the gym that we're like, fuck yeah, that's my guy right there. I have nothing. The 25-year-old dude that's buff running around the gym, like whatever, you're 25, everyone should be buff at your age. But like the 60-year-old dude that you see in there, the 70-year-old dude, it's like mass props. Like that's my guy also. So it's pretty cool. And then those kids that I really always were just amazed by are the ones that I still connect with, talk with, have gone through adversity. And I think their just ability to do hard things at such a young age and getting good at it. Like one of them just had a baby, and she just rocked it. She never had like this fear of it, or, she kept a positive mindset about it, a relatively seamless birth as far as, those things can go. And now she's back working out all the time and fit again. And, she saw some pictures of her working out with her baby, like on her chest, it's like, so the youth athlete thing has always been so cool to me because you get in on the ground floor. And I did personal training with adults and before I got into training youth athletes, and nothing wrong with that, but it just wasn't my thing because adults are just they're just more hardwired. And you don't, unless they're in a really bad situation or they have a real high level of motivation for something, a bad diagnosis from a doctor, they're not overly motivated, to listen to all the stuff you have to say. But with a kid who's between the ages of 12 and 18, you just have such a cool opportunity to implant good beliefs in their head, proper training, proper nutrition, like all these things. Call them out on their bullshit when they're giving you excuses. Be another positive influence in their life outside of their family, kind of reinforcing what their family's trying to also get across. Work hard, be nice. It's just a really cool opportunity, and to be almost on the other side of that, where they're getting married, having kids. We've been to, I think, 4 weddings now. Crystal and I have been to 4 weddings from our former athletes, which is just like the biggest honor to us, that like 15 years later after the last time we trained them, they're still thinking about us and inviting us to weddings. And I've met kids, their kids, it's just so cool. So pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
What do you think it is about that relationship there? As you say, it doesn't happen for everybody. They don't all jump in fully, in the way that you're, or the opportunity that you're allowing them to. But the kids who really dig into it, because you've had to find that within yourself to be a professional athlete. The kids who really dig in, like, what do you think it is? Who you jive with the most?
That's a good question.
It's hard to put the words together to like ask the question, but.
No, I know what you're saying. So it's really, really interesting because I've had kids that come from the same family. All of them are hard workers. So, for example, two of my athletes, one of the Rennie, the last name is Rennie. One of them played professional baseball, got all the way up to AA with the Mets, shut it down after like 8 years, eight or 10 years, but very successful, hardworking. Got to be careful what you tell them to do because they're going to do it. Type kids, right? His sister, probably one of the number one players in the country as a high school, dealt with cancer, going to college, tons of hardships, all these things, just like no excuses ever, so these two kids come from, her name was Savannah Rennie, the pitcher, his name was Luke Rennie. Those two kids, whatever their parents did or didn't do, whatever was going on, they just managed to come out with two kids that were just grinders. Two of my favorite athletes ever to work with. I still talk to them both routinely, via text. And another wedding that I got invited to was Luke's wedding. So what did they do? It'd be a good podcast, How'd you... but then there's other families. You'll get one kid that is just eyes on the prize, works hard. And then the other kid, I'm on the verge of like kicking them out. Of like, dude, this isn't the place for half-assery. This is not it. Like, and the parents would be like, yeah, I get it. Like, we don't know. We don't know why that kid's like that and why the other kid's like that. If we could take that kid and get his work ethic into that kid, trust me, we'd fucking do it. Yeah. But we don't know. And it's, I think, but I think is a general emphasis on full responsibility for where your life is and what, full responsibility and emphasis on doing hard things that will benefit you in the long term. Not necessarily doing what you want to do, but what you need to do. And I think that is a very powerful concept for kids to grow up, especially now in a world of instant gratification. Social media likes, social media comments, immediately getting a text message back from somebody, video games, this world of instant gratification, it becomes more important than ever that kids really understand that instant gratification can certainly be a part of life, having that piece of chocolate cake or playing that video game. But how far you go in life is going to come down to how much you focus on doing shit that sucks right now, but that will benefit you in the long term. Wrestling is a great example. Not many kids jump into wrestling their first day and are like, this is fucking awesome. I just got my head pounded by some dude, some 10-year-old that's been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah.
His dad's a wrestling coach, just kicked my fucking ass. But knowing how beneficial something like that is for the rest of your life. Like if you can wrestle, if you can go through wrestling, you can handle a lot of hard shit. Even like cross country, which you don't necessarily see as this like great badass thing. I mean, have you ever seen a cross-country runner after a really gnarly 400 or 800 or whatever? Like, they are blown out. And these guys that do ultras, like, their mindset is just like, talk about talking positively to yourself. How much do you have to talk positively to yourself over the course of a 100-mile marathon? And life's gonna throw some fucked up situations at you. That's the whole Goggins thing, right? It's like, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of myself and make my training as hard as I possibly can. So when my mother dies someday, that's not gonna be I'm gonna be able to handle that better. Like his words. Like that's the type of shit he's preparing his brain for, callousing his mind, as he likes to say. So kids are so easily offended, humans in general are so easily offended these days. But like when you're just able to be more resilient, tougher. Like, I think parents are focusing on the wrong things. They're focusing on the result, and they're not focusing on like just making tough kids. Because in the end, the tough really do survive. You have to just understand that life is not going to be all fucking giggles and rainbows. Like, it's going to throw some gnarly shit out. And this is a conversation I have with my own kids. Like, you don't want to do hard shit? Like, I'm going to die someday. I'm going to die before you. You're going to have to go through that. So like, how do you want to, like, you're going to have to learn to deal with hard things. You're going to, if you want to play college sports, there's some senior, when you get there, it's going to be a total dick. Maybe even slap you in the face. Like, that's life. Say verbally or physically abuse you in some way. Like, that's a possibility. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to handle yourself? So emphasizing, and those kids that I look back on as like being those kids, like, they really embraced the hardness of it. You know, they just embraced the hardness of it. The kids that fell off never embraced the hardness of it. And if you don't embrace the hardness of it, you're never gonna get there. You're never gonna get there at all, you know? So.
What do you think took you from that time, you know, saying that you like to party real hard, you know, as well as do the fun and athletic stuff? If there was like a moment or kind of like a period for you where you're like, okay, one thing's going to go if I'm going to keep the other. So what led you toward ultimately making the choice to become a professional athlete?
Time. So like, I was an idiot in college too. So I have that pain of looking back, of being like, I could have been so much more. So I was such a fuck up in high school that I had to go to junior college. My grades were literally not good enough to get into anywhere. Even though I had offers, you know, to multiple colleges. You know, Stanford was talking, you know, my talk with Stanford was about 5 minutes. The coach goes, how's your grades? I go, not good enough. He goes, all right, good talk. I'm like, all right. He literally, that happened at a volleyball tournament. That was the gist of the conversation. I played at his younger brother was on my team, so we kind of already knew each other. And he had just watched me play, and I played well. And I was like, sorry, bro, that's not going to happen. So I had to go to junior college, which I got my shit together, at least in scholastically. Won a state championship there, and that was really good for me. Got recruited again by a lot of the same schools. Chose Long Beach State because we had like this great class coming in, and I redshirted a year, so I knew I was going to have 3 years of playing there, and I wanted to win a championship, and that was my goal. And so, but even then, I was still partying all the time. I mean, I had a good time in college, too good of a time. I didn't balance stuff. I could have been a much better volleyball player. So like, I was the man up until going to Long Beach State, and then I was a starter. I played a role for sure, but like, you know, I'm 6'2", which is short. So if you're going to be 6'2" or undersized in any sport, you don't get to just kind of fuck around and be a badass. You've got to like really do other things. Like, you know, I should have been lifting more. I should have been taking care of my body better. All these things, I could have been a bigger part of our success. And so I wasn't. And, you know, now I get to look back and like, well, if I was as a leader on that team, would then the rest of my team worked harder? If the rest of my team would have worked harder, would I be talking about the national championship I won versus the national championship where I got my ass kicked? You know, could I have a national championship under my belt as well? And so these are honest conversations I get to have when you talk about me being able to talk to athletes coming up. These are honest conversations I can have with these athletes. Like, trust me, you do not want to look back on your career if sports are something that are very serious to you. If they're not, that's fine, whatever. Have your fun in high school and do something else. But if sports are something that's very important to you, and you're going to want to look back and say that you gave it damn near everything you had. You're not going to want to be 48 like me. having to be honest with yourself and say you could have been so much more. So to actually get to your question, I didn't play beach volleyball professionally until 9 years after I quit collegiate volleyball. Yeah, so at 23 years old, my senior year, I had really bad knees. I was just tired of being in pain. I was tired of living off Advil. Can't even sit in a movie theater with my knees bent for 2 hours without them hurting. Driving was miserable, going up and down stairs. So that obviously sapped a little bit of my athleticism. I still muscled through it and I made the most out of it. Still got like all league honors and all those things, but I just was done. I had an invite to go train with the national team. I was like, fuck this. I'm just tired of being in pain all the time. So just went to work and took a job down in San Diego, left Long Beach, and ran a manufacturing company down there with one of my teammates and was just working, got a little fat, got a little like eating off the roach coach and just like partying and spending my new salary on dumb shit. But then I started like, I remember, because we used to weigh packages before they sent out, and I remember like standing on it, like, oh, how much do I weigh? And my fighting weight was like 182 at that time. And I remember it said 200, and I'm like, that is not a good 200 pounds. That is definitely not 18 more pounds of muscle. And for whatever reason, 200 has always been like my, where I kind of judge myself. So I got actually really healthy. That just like, I was like, oh my God, 200, like, okay. I got super into nutrition, which started me on this journey of where I am now. Cleaned up my diet. A lot of my inflammation went away. I started training smarter. And so like, I was able to actually get myself back in shape. So I grew up watching professional beach volleyball. The heyday of like when it was the most popular, when I was like in high school. It was like on Sundays, like you watched the finals and it was a big deal. I was like, you know, that's one regret I have. I did not go like try that. And I grew up playing beach volleyball with my brother, take me down to the beach. I was a good beach volleyball player. I was like, I'm just gonna give it a shot. And so 9 years after my last beach volleyball tournament, which was my senior year in college, I entered into another beach volleyball tournament with nothing in between. And that's where my journey started. And that's where it was like, okay, I'm now into nutrition. I'm into strength training. I'm like into all the taking care of my body. I'm doing all these things. And I was able to qualify and get on that tour about as quickly as you can, because you have to qualify like through 3 or 4 tournaments, accrue a number of points, then you're automatically in the main draw. And I pretty much flew right through that and then played for almost 2.5 years. And then it's not the most financially rewarding sport. Didn't make money and didn't pay much, so it actually shut down. And I had a gym at that point. I was already running a gym, and I was also playing volleyball on the side. And it was like, okay, I wasn't improving on either. It was like, okay, I got to kind of go all in on one. It shut down, and that's when I went into just training athletes full time, and that blew up. Also, right when I took my focus away from the beach volleyball, the entire thing just blew up. Which was, very rewarding, probably more rewarding than anything I've ever done in my playing career for sure, because it's all about other people, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Sounds like an interesting point to where when you fully trusted that going with the training was going to be your route, it's like you instantly got that reward of like, okay, you've done all this stuff over all these years, now it's going to blow up for you.
Yes, and what's interesting is when you kind of like come to terms with what you probably already knew. And in this case, I remember going out, so there's a guy out in New Jersey. I'm so fortunate to like train under some of the best mentors in our entire industry. One of them, his name is Joe DeFranco, and he was famous for getting guys really good results in the NFL Combine. And so he started running this, mentorship of sorts. And so I remember I'm flying out to New Jersey, and I'm like, I'm basically training girls volleyball players. Like that's my bread and butter, and I'm like kind of feeling embarrassed. I'm like, I'm gonna go out there with all these meatheads that are training like football players, and like, in my mind, I'm in San Diego. I'm like, I want to train Padres. I want to train Chargers. Like I want to train, and so I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. Like I'm going out here. I don't even want to tell them who I train. But then at some point I'm like, fuck that. Like, fucking embrace it. Like, I'm a former professional beach volleyball player, and I'm a pretty smart guy when it comes to strength training. Put the two together, I think I am actually probably the best trainer of volleyball players in the world, because I've played the sport at the highest level, and here I am learning from all these. I had already learned from a couple of great mentors, Paul Chek and Charles Poliquin, who are like the OGs of like bringing good training to the masses. I'm like, and I finally embraced it, and I was like, and I don't give a fuck what these guys think, you know? And once I made that, like, just going out there made me come to terms with, like, I'm just the guy that trains volleyball players, and I can kick ass at that. And it just blew up. All of a sudden, I had, like, all the best volleyball players, you know? It just, like, there was one really cool girl who was going to Colorado on a scholarship, and she's a super social, super popular, awesome kid. And like, she came in, and like the whole thing blew up. It's like everyone found out, and all of a sudden we had like kids that had already committed to all the schools, Stanford, UCLA, I mean, you name it, we've sent kids all over the country, and it just kind of blew up. But it wasn't until I found a niche, and I embraced that niche, and then it just went. And then eventually, the volleyball players started bringing their brothers in, who were baseball players, and you know, we started getting soccer players, and the whole thing grew from there, which is, I think, is a miss. Like people think you have to like cater to everybody. Like if you train baseball players, then you can't train football players, but that's not true at all. Good training is good training. You know, good principles are good principles, and so you do end up with other athletes, but. Yeah, bread and butter was definitely the volleyball situation. And I just ended up gravitating and developing based on the demographic of athletes that work the hardest. Girls volleyball players, on a whole, work very hard. They're very fun to work with. Girls soccer players are badass. Boys soccer players are not. Just the way it is. Right? You've seen the flopping. You've seen the culture. Right. Girls soccer is completely opposite. If you flop, you suck. You're looked down on. I mean, those girls pull hair, elbow. It is a mean sport. You do not get to high-level soccer without being a total badass. So a lot of girls soccer players. Girls volleyball players work hard. Boys volleyball players, not so much. I had some great ones. But you know, and this is a very stereotypical, like broad categories, you know the word, of these athletes, but they're pretty true. Girls softball, badass. Girls basketball, badass. Boys basketball, it's not a huge part of the culture. It's not. It really isn't. I mean, it's getting there and it's moving forward. They're starting to realize, oh, if I want to jump 40 inches, it helps to have a good back squat and a good deadlift and things like this. So I just naturally, in baseball, they understand. That was like the steroid era. They're like, hey, weightlifting works. Getting stronger works, right? That's what steroids do, give you an unnatural amount of strength. So baseball players get it on the strength, and then it's also a very cerebral sport. So they're also they're pretty smart. They're not just going to come in and be meatheads, which is why I never really dove into football. I didn't like that demographic. They're just too big, sweaty, loud. I didn't like it in my gym. And most of the programs in California already have that for their athletes, the high school. So I never got into that. But yeah, girls soccer, baseball, lacrosse, boys lacrosse, tough sport. They were awesome. Had a couple hockey players. You know that. That's a tough sport. So they were fun to train too. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems this thing of people being willing to, you know, kind of more of a common theme, you know, developing throughout these conversations and all that. It's like the people who really dig in on themselves and whatnot and are humble and all that. And I'm just repeating myself at this point, but it seems like so much interesting conversations and stuff comes out of that. And it's like, okay, they've achieved these things before. This is what they're doing now. It's going to be something cool, because it's like once you've done something that's so cool earlier in your life, it's like you can't settle for mediocrity, you know, after that.
Yeah.
So, you know, here you are, almost 50, like you say, dialed into your health, working out all the time, you know, all these things, maintaining your proper family life and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. When when you set a standard for something, like you with, your role in the military with the Marines, fixing helicopters, being a mechanic and part of the flight crew and all that, like you've been to the top of your profession. And you were in charge of many, many people's lives, your excellence at your what you did. So you took that very seriously, and once you take something very seriously, you can then kind of judge all other areas of your life based on that. So for example, I'm not where I want to be financially. I'm not starving, it's not bad, but I'm not there. I wouldn't put where I am financially in the top, like where I got in my sport, and where I got in my sport was the top 1% of the world. I wasn't the top, but if you really looked at all the volleyball players in the world, I was one of the probably top 1%, which is pretty. I'm not top 1% financially in the world. I can fucking tell you that, yeah, Craig. And I don't even know that I want to be, but I know that I'm not where I want to be. But me and my wife, she has the same resume as me, she was an All-American setter at UCLA, and then a professional beach volleyball player for a few years. And so we're like, what are we missing here, right? Like, what are we not applying to our finances that we were applying to sport? Because this is very important to us. We're now, I'm 48, she's just a little bit older than you, she's 43. It's like, okay, we're not where we want to be at this stage of our life. So how can we take what we were doing there and apply it here? And it's basically like, we're like, okay, well, we did a lot of hard shit that we didn't want to get to where we got. And so it's like, okay, well, we have to do that now. No more instant gratification with the money we make, right? We got to actually do what everybody tells you to do and put like 10% somewhere else or whatever that is, and just be smarter. So, but there's a lot of parallels that you can draw, and you can do the same thing with your time in the military of like assessing your life of like, okay, what did I do to get there with that? Obviously I had a huge passion for volleyball, so that helped. I loved it so much, I was willing to do the hard shit. And I did a lot of hard shit. I made a lot of sacrifices for that. So like the best strength coaches or the best mentors in the world for kids, that's what you also got to pass on to them. It's way more art than knowledge being a good coach. And I always tell my coaches at my gym, when we sold it about 5 years ago, and now it's just all online for me now. But I always tell my coaches, you got to be schizophrenic. You have to literally be able to like have one personality with that kid over there and walk 17 feet and go have another personality with that kid over there. A 17-year-old boy lacrosse player is going to need a way different style of coaching than that 12-year-old female volleyball player, and everything in between. And you have to just figure out, they're all a puzzle. How do you get the most out of them? And if you're not getting shit out of them, you have to own it. Eventually, I just kicked them out. Like, hey, we're having conversations. Here's the expectations. You're not meeting them. I'm willing to be the bad guy today for you to learn this lesson for the rest of your life, that what you're doing is not acceptable. It's not high level. It's not going to get you anything in life, the way you act here, how much you show up, whatever it is. We're not a good fit. And Crystal, my wife, was always a little bit like wanted me to be softer, but it's like that might be the lesson that kid, and I still have those conversations with my kids now. I almost kicked 2 of them out like a month ago, and I sat down with them. They're doing great now, but I had to be like, you're not doing what you committed when I sat down with you and explained what this looks like. You're not doing that. Okay? You're not doing that you agreed to. So you either start doing it or we're done. Because I don't have a fucking overhead anymore. I'm way meaner than I was back then, like in a good way, right? Back then I had gym, I had coaches, I had insurances, I had all these things. I was a lot softer, actually. Now I'm like, my overhead is my internet bill. I'm not doing this with you. You know the deal. either get on board or we're done. But those times when I did kick kids out, I got multiple kids back of like, thank you, like parents, thank you. And I've gotten word of other kids that didn't come back, that they, that was like, one of the best things that ever happened to them was actually somebody being willing to be the bad guy and saying, hey, I'm not mad at you, but this isn't going to work here, and go somewhere else if your idea of working out is what you're showing me, because I'm not here just to babysit you or for you to put this on your Instagram handle that you work out or put pictures up or whatever. Like, this is for people to learn life lessons, because the weight room is like, as Henry Rollins, right, says, so famously, it never lies to you. 200 pounds is always fucking 200 pounds. And you don't get short-term benefits. You don't get to work out once and all of a sudden you're strong. You work out once and you feel like a pussy and you're sore and you got to go back and try to do it again when you're already sore, but then you string together like weeks and months and years and you're like, oh, this is what it's all about. So it's the ultimate teacher of delayed gratification, which I really think is it's where my wife and I are currently going with our kids. It's a huge theme in our house right now. Even us as former, high-level athletes and strength coaches, and my wife is a really high-level volleyball coach, and even us as like coach parents, we've realized we've not emphasized delayed gratification enough in our household. So it's a big time thing in our home right now.
Yeah, it seems like that's where the real investment is recognizing that anything that's worth getting doesn't just come to you, like that. And
yeah,
pretty wild. Seems like you really got to be dialed in on, like you say, sort of the schizophrenic thing. You got to be different with the 12-year-old girl versus the 17-year-old boy lacrosse guy. Seems like you have to become like a master at psychology to genuinely, be the person, who I identify, okay, what do they need from me and how do I return that for them,
And, that's the art of it. I would rather have a 55-year-old dad of 3 coaching my kid in baseball that knows a lot than a 22-year-old that just got out of college playing Division I that knows everything. Because having kids, first of all, makes you a better coach. You are literally trying to figure kids out all day, every day when you're a parent. It's fucking hard. No, it really is, So you have that, okay, this works with one kid, this doesn't work with the other, and these themes are seeming to work across the board with these kids, and you can apply it to when you're coaching. But yeah, it's so much art. It's just something you can try, and you can certainly speed up the process by studying psychology and different ways of learning, all these things. But the art of coaching to make sure you're driving kids hard enough to improve, but not so hard that they want to quit. It's a fine line between, instilling those valuable lessons in them, but also keeping them around, because the time you have with those kids matters. So something that I don't do anymore that I used to tolerate is kids taking off their high school season from lifting. So, we would have them just be like, their parents would call up, hey, they're going into high school season, which means games and practices 5 to 6 times a week. It's like, they're just not going to have time. We used to be like, all right, whatever. But I don't tolerate that anymore. I let them know ahead of time. I'm like, first of all, we're going month to month in case I don't want to work with you anymore, in case we're not a good fit. Okay, we're month to month. No contracts. However, I'm looking at you as a long-term project, years. I'm in this for years. That's where I'm going to see the most growth on all the cool things that I want to see, which is you being strong, resilient, athletic, and willing to do hard shit over and over and over and make this a priority in your life. We're not going to take off months or weeks. If you're planning on doing this for 3 months and then taking off for 3 months, we're not a good fit. Because I don't want you to think that life is ever going to let up on you as far as your responsibilities and your time restraints. Right now, it's high school volleyball season or high school basketball season. 10 years from now, it's something else. It's your job. It's your business. It's whatever. But this right here, what you're learning to do, prioritize the right things, your health, getting strong, going and doing shit, getting up early to work out when you really would rather sleep in. The things you're learning now make you better at everything else. They make you a better business owner. They make you a better husband. They make you a better father, wife, whatever. So we're going to start making time to do this all the time now. And you're going to have weeks when you don't have much going on and you go 5-6 times. There's going to be weeks when you have a lot going on. Maybe you get in once, but we're never stopping. And you're never going to stop the rest of your life. That's now being removed, and now seeing these kids go from 12 years old to now they're 30. It's like, that's what I was doing the whole time. I didn't know why. I thought I was doing it because I didn't want them to have the same knee pain that I did. That was kind of because the knee pain really zapped my love for my sport. I thought that's why I was doing it at the time. I don't want these kids to go through what I went through. If I'd have been stronger, I wouldn't have had that issue. And now looking back on it, it's like, man, I was just mentoring these kids and preparing them for life, and weight training, strength, performance, that was just my medium. Up here, it's now volleyball camps and private lessons, and I still work with kids, but I don't have 135 kids like I did back then that I was constantly seeing on a weekly basis. So I don't remember what the question was, but told you this would happen.
Knocked it out of the park.
Told you this would happen. And your name is?
Yeah, right. You mentioned diet, and of course we've talked about that stuff, previous to this. What do you find to be the best as far as returns that you've gotten?
By far, you eat? Yeah. And, I'm a big fan of context, which is, you'll have 1 million people online telling you carnivore is the best. You'll have 1 million people online telling you vegan's the best. It's so contextual. So it's a spectrum for me. And the optimal human diet, I think, for me personally, and I've felt what it's like. So I think the longest I've ever gone is like 16 days of just straight meat, salt, water. And that is by far when I feel my best. The inflammation's the lowest. My sleep is the best. My energy is the most sustained. I need the least amount of caffeine. Just my body, it's an obvious, this is how your body functions best, Curtis. This is it. Okay? Now, I don't have currently the discipline to stick to that for my whole life, and I don't know how it would go after 3 or 4 months. I know some people that do it for 15 years, 50. There's some people that have been doing it for 30 straight years. I know some people get to a few months or a year, and they're like, I felt good, but I felt better when I added back in some fruit or whatever. Now the whole strict carnivore, the whole beef, water, salt, I think that is the best therapeutic thing that you can probably do. It used to be, when I first got into this industry, it was a rice diet. That was the elimination diet back then. Now it is, which is a lot easier to stick to, ribeyes with salt. Is a hell of a lot better fun, easier to stick to than plain rice for however long. And that's what it was. And then it was like, okay, then you add back in apple or chicken or something that's pretty mellow to see how that treats you. So I think that beef salt water is the most, as far as learning about yourself, finding out what your natural, how I should feel, like just really learning about what works and what does not work with your body is the best thing you can do. I know coffee is not good for me. I know that spinach is awful for me. I know that like chicken is actually not great for me, because when I felt so great off all that beef and I added back in chicken, I had obvious signs of like, this is not optimal for you. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to wake up with a hangover if I have a chicken breast tonight, but it's like, it's not optimal. So just knowing what your optimal is and being able to work out from there, I think is extremely powerful. And if you have the wherewithal to go with it for the rest of your life and you feel awesome and you don't feel pressure in social situations to have, you know, something off your program. Like I have kids and I'm always making them other foods. It's just been challenging for me, and just, you know, I'm just not disciplined enough to do it. It would be the smartest thing for me though, to do it. And I just think that that's a good base to start from. I think that like for kids or people that it's like meat, fruit, like yogurts, like, you know, like smart dairy, you know, is a good way to go. I think that's a good place, like a good, you still get to have like, you know, honey and yogurt and berries. There's a lot of variety. If you've only done beef, salt, and water, there's a lot of fucking variety in fruit and dairy and meat, you know? And so, you know, and I'm all for if somebody feels their absolute best by, you know, having a few Oreos or Doritos now and then. If they can get away with it, get away with it. I cannot. And so for me personally, they would be the meat, salt, water. But it's a spectrum. It's such a spectrum. Like standard American diet is on one side of the spectrum. For me, the most optimal thing would be beef, salt, water on the other side. But, you know, there's so many things in between there. I'm not a huge vegan fan. There's, you know, inherently problems with a diet that doesn't give you everything your body needs. There's no B12 in there's no B12. There's no B12, you know? And so like that diet inherently is faulty when you don't have everything the human body needs. You need to supplement, right? But vegan is still much better than the standard American diet. It's not as good as what would be considered animal-based to me, you know, some dairy, you know, some good dairy, fruits, and lots of meat, you know. But I think that anybody needing to cure some sort of chronic thing, diagnosed or not, should at least suck it up, do it for like 2 weeks, see if it helps. Because I just think that I don't speak in absolutes. I feel like I'm going to be proved wrong at any moment with things I say about nutrition. That's why I've never attempted to write a book about nutrition, despite many people like, you should write a book, you know? Because I'm like, why? So I can rewrite it in like 6 months? But for the first time in like this journey of over 2 decades, I feel like this is something that's going to stick. I feel like the carnivore, like the beef, salt, water as a tool for people to either stay out of chronic disease or to identify what's causing their chronic disease. I just view it as a very powerful like medical intervention of like, before you go to the doctor well, I shouldn't say before you go to the doctor, but before you decide to get on pills and go that route, having your innards removed because of the various inflammatory bowel diseases, like there's so many things you can try first. I just want people to try things first, you know, before you go to that like quick surgery or the like. There's things out there that can help you. Give them a shot, you know, like removing Doritos from your life could do, and a lot of other things can do wonders. How the fuck do you know what's causing your pain when there's 100 ingredients in just that bag of Doritos right there? How are you gonna pin this down?
Yeah.
And that's the simplicity and the beauty of beef, salt, water. Very, very few people have a problem with beef. And so they can really find out. And then you add back in blueberries. How do you feel? Awesome still? Great. Leave blueberries in. Avocados is a very popular one to like add back in that many people are fine with. I feel the same with avocados that I did with just beef. Leave them in. Let's go. Try something else. I tried salmon and I shit 5 times the next morning before noon. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. And it wasn't digested. It smelled like salmon. Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe that's not good, man. You know, and I mean, how many, which is very common, you know, people, you need to use the restroom 5 to 7 times a day, every single day, or not using the restroom for 2 weeks. So I think everyone at least owes it to themselves to try it, to try to find out what feeling their best actually feels like. And I think that beef water salt is an amazing way to find that out. Yeah. You know, and people will talk about the restrictive nature of it, and I totally get it. You know, people with eating disorders are already practicing restricted eating in an unhealthy way. So there's concerns with that. And so I'm always, you know, if stuff like that's going on, I would say anybody needs to definitely consider those things if they're dealing with anorexia, bulimia, any of the eating disordered things, which are multifactorial, right? I mean, who knows how much trauma or what is going into that behavior. But I do think, I mean, with the amount of mental disorders that carnivore helps with too. And when I say carnivore, I mean beef, water, salt, not all the bastardizations of it. Beef, water, salt, how many mental, from bipolar, depression, anxiety, across the board. We're at like hundreds of thousands of people now when you talk about testimonials of people that have improved their skin conditions, bone conditions, mental disorder. It's just, I don't need to wait for a double-blind, placebo, randomized control study to tell me when this many people are having this good a result. I don't need to wait for the science on this. You know, whether it's, and people say, well, what about the placebo effect? I'm like, I don't care. Like, even if it is placebo effect, they were told 1 million times that carnivore works and it's working. Like, I don't care. That person feels better. You know, I don't, like Charles Poliquin would always say, because he was very advanced. He was big on fish oil. He was way ahead of, he would tell us to eat tons of butter. He was way ahead of like all of this stuff. And he would be like, well, I don't need a double-blind, you know, trial to tell me not to, there's no controlled study about jumping out of an airplane with or without a parachute, but I'm gonna do the one with the parachute. And it's like, and he was like extreme as far as like a little bit of evidence went a long way for him. And he was very into supplements, awesome guy, super smart. But he was always kind of like, you know, like err on the side of taking it, and then if it's not good, we'll back it off, kinda, you know. But man, a lot of the shit he taught us turned out to be very true and work very well. Same with Paul Chek. Paul Chek was like my first experience, like that was my first nutrition course, was the Chek Institute, which is in San Diego, Vista. And it was like, that's when like soybean oil was big. And he was like, they were basically like, fuck gluten, fuck these seed oils. They weren't even calling them seed oils at the time. They were just like vegetable oils, soybean oils, all these things. That was like 20 years ago. So those guys were saying like crazy shit back then. Now is all proving to really be very sound, nutritional. Eat as many eggs as you wanted. Cholesterol was still this really bad thing back then. And they were telling us, no. Eat the yolks, do all these things. So those guys were awesome, man. Those guys were awesome for sure. But, you know, I'm not religious. I respect all religions and I appreciate them and stuff, but I am a big fan of evolution. I just think that the way that science keeps panning out, that it's pointing more to more of like, just eat like we did for hundreds of thousands of years. Like, and it's been, you know, paleo's been around for a while, which eventually got bastardized into almond flour muffins, you know, and shit like that, you know? Right. But, you know, eat a lot of like ruminant, you know, the biggest payday was like a woolly mammoth or these, you know, ground sloths, giant sloths that we had, you know, these big red meat animals. Those are like the biggest score. On the plains, you know, savannas of Africa, the biggest scores were these big red meat animals. Sure, we wouldn't throw away a chicken, but we're not feeding 30 people with a chicken. Yeah. Like, if that's the only thing we can catch, they're lean and they're small. Let's go after the big red meat animal that has lots of fat, lots of organs, lots of meat that's going to feed our entire village for like a week. So that's seeming to like be proven here with how many people are benefiting from adding more red meat into their diet. A little bit of fruit here and there. If you can tolerate dairy, we haven't been doing dairy all that long, so I think I don't think that dairy's for everybody. I really don't. I think that if they were to do beef, water, salt, and then throw in, a jug of milk from like Safeway or something, I think they would probably say, yeah, I don't feel the same. But there's lots of fortunate. We live here. We can get raw milk. I think that is definitely something that's better. But yeah. To answer your question.
Absolutely. Well, dude, sounds like we got like another couple episodes or something like that at least. So
seriously.
Yeah, let's pick it up again here another time. But
I'd love to, man. This was fun, man. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Likewise.
Not many not many people give me permission to just talk. It's kind of like you're like that friend that like I wish every friend that I had would ask me these questions. Because a long time ago, when I first got into nutrition, I learned really quickly. So people would ever, the old saying, never talk about government, never talk about politics and what's the other one?
Religion.
Never talk about politics and religion. Well, I would throw nutrition in there, especially don't tell people what to eat. So I made a rule a long time ago that you have to either pay me. You have to pay me to talk to you about nutrition, because a lot of people are starting to walk around eggshells. Because I was like a born again Christian, but with food, where I was kind of like shaming people, and I had to learn my way around that. And eventually, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not telling anybody anything unless they ask. And so, now I have all this stuff that I've learned and been able to put context on, and been able to decipher the good from the bad, and really be able to, because I've stayed open-minded about it the whole time, I can actually provide a pretty valuable perspective for people on these types of things. And so you having me here today to just kind of give me free rein, I just wish it was like, there's multiple friends that I have that are, I wish they would ask me these same questions, because I care for them and I want them to know, and I want to tell them, and I want to tell them what I've learned about all this stuff, so that they can be around a long time with me on this journey. So it's fun to, just basically get all this information out of my brain. So it was really fun. Appreciate it.
Right on. Yeah, likewise. And what you can do for them.
I have treats.
Treats, that's right. Yeah,
You got to end with the treats that I brought you, which might lead to another hour of talking. So you're going to have to be careful.
What you have to do, like once this is live, is send it over to them, and then you can preface the remainder of the relationship just like you do as a trainer, and say, you're going to undergo this or not, but if we're going to move forward, you're going to have to listen to this, and I'm going to need to see some progress.
That's right.
Or we're not going to do this.
If you really want me to teach you how to hunt, you're going to have to listen to this entire, because I do get a lot of SoCal buddies that are trying to learn how to hunt, and we can talk about hunting. That could be another future. So here, I'll give you your treats. So I told you I left the suspense in the air the last time I texted you. So here is a bottle of powdered deer organs. So this is the deer that my son Slater shot this year. So whenever we shoot deer, we keep all the organs that are in good condition. I dehydrate them and then blend them up, powder them. This year, I actually tried to make a seasoning out of it. So it's just salt. I covered it in salt, and then I blended it up. So it's like, I sprinkle this on like burgers. I just sprinkle it right into food. You can just like an additive to like whatever you're eating. So this is deer organs.
Hell yeah.
Sketchy white bottle with deer organs written in blue Sharpie.
No FDA approvals or anything. You had no hoops to jump through.
No, they're coming after me for distributing non-regulated supplements. This is actually a cow spleen. Same thing. I got this from a rancher down in Missoula. A cow spleen is like this big. And so this is actually, out of all the organs, I'm pretty sure it's the highest in vitamin C. So, when people start talking about, what are you going to do? Are you going to get scurvy? That's a whole nother topic from carnivore eating. But cow spleen actually is very high in vitamin C. Right Salt in cow spleen, dehydrated. There's a company, I think it's called Flock, that makes dehydrated organs with seasonings and that you can put on stuff. And so it's kind of my attempt at a homemade. That is 100% grass-fed beef tallow that I just render it down. I buy that from a rancher, Mannix, M-A-N-N-I-X, down in
Great Falls.
No, they're they're down in like Helmville, Ovando area. But they put on that Old Salt festival. It's like bands, but they're huge on regenerative ranching.
Is this the same ranch where Withy's on the south side of Withy's Health Foods on the south side of Kalispell? They have their beef there.
No, that is, they're in Big Timber.
They are.
They're in Big Timber, and I'm blanking on the name. I used to get meat from him too, and I was in Withy's and I saw their beef there.
Because they do have Mannix beef there.
Do they have Mannix beef there?
It's more in the last several months they've been offering that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Right on.
And they do
liquid gold.
Liquid gold.
Yeah.
So I just render that down. I get fat from them and I make my own. By far, the most economical way to do it. I just put it in a big old cast iron pot, put it in the oven for like, I don't know, 8 hours on 250, let it all render down, pour it out. So yeah, liquid gold, there you go.
Right on, man.
Yeah, and my wife uses that for all her skin care stuff too now.
Listen up, folks, especially young ladies who are putting all these chemical-ridden products all over their face and skin, wherever. That seems like the real thing. If your wife's doing it, seems like she knows what she's up to.
She does. She adds a little honey to it. She's super into that stuff right now, and so she does all natural stuff, and so she steals my tallow and makes skincare out of it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, but there you go, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and I got some testicles on the way. I found a source for testicles. So I'm going to be
bull testicles, not human testicles.
Yeah.
I forgot. Have you? We probably talked about the Heart and Soil whole package then, right? Yeah. Have you done that before?
Yeah.
I forgot. Okay.
Yeah. So I used to source my own beef testicles. Man, dude, we have so many podcasts. Like we're just kind of scratching the surface of how I'm like a poor man's Tim Ferriss, always experimenting and trying new things on myself. But I used to get goat testicles from Florida. They're really hard to find, beef testicles. But as of the lady I get my raw milk from here, she's actually like, yeah, we're starting to raise bulls. So you'll finally get some testicles, because she knows I've been trying to find them. So in the spring, they castrate them, and they don't do anything with them. So I'll probably just walk around with a bucket with my kids.
Oh, yeah.
They just chop them off in the field or whatever, however they do it. So we'll be dehydrating those and using those as well.
Right on.
But people have to be careful with organs. They are so nutrient dense that you can definitely cause some imbalances in a lot of different ways. So they're just like, you don't need a lot. So
seems like anything. Too much water will kill you. Too little water will kill you. Find the sweet spot.
I like to look at it. What makes sense to me from an evolutionary perspective is using them in the same ratios as the animal. So, if you were to take all the meat and all the organs, just grind them into a mash, that would taste like shit. But that would be like, to me, the ultimate. But like eating 5 ounces of liver a day when you're also eating 20 ounces of meat is like, that's not the correct ratio, So a little bit goes a long way. Just try to keep in mind, that they're just super nutrient dense and can mess stuff up, especially like with iron. But yeah, get your vitamin C going, let me know.
Right on.
I'm actually gonna make some pills out of it too. So I have a little pill maker, and then I give those to the kids to make sure they're getting their vitamins. But
well, I'm looking forward to your brand when you release that one day. Once you get enough supply in.
Yeah, I'd love to commit to